Hello and welcome. I'm in Oranienburg in Germany. In front of me is the location of a former deserted brewery, or abandoned brewery I should say, which on the 21st of March 1933 became a wild concentration camp, and probably one of the best known wild concentration camps. 3,000 people approximately passed through here. Around 16 are known to have died here. Now, what we can see up here, we've got a little photograph there, and the photograph you can see the brick wall, and I think that this brick wall here is not original, but that over there certainly is, and that I think is probably part of where the brewery was. Next to here we've got Lidl, and we've got a couple of signs. But what I'm going to do is, there is something here which has been put up by the Sachsenhausen Museum, I think, and I shall read it to you whilst pointing the camera in a different position. In fact, you can have a look. There's the picture. So, on the 21st of March 1933, the day of Potsdam, a regional SA regiment set up the first concentration camp in the state of Prussia in a disused factory building in the town centre of Oranienburg. In the months after the National Socialist takeover of power, Oranienburg concentration camp was a significant place of imprisonment for the opponents from Berlin and the surrounding area. Until the closure of the camp in July 1934, around 3,000 people were imprisoned in Oranienburg concentration camp. At least 16 prisoners did not survive their incarceration. In connection with the so-called Rome Putsch and the emasculation of the SA in July 1934, about 150 SS men under the leadership of the inspector of the concentration camps, Theodor Eicke, took over the camp. The prisoners were transferred to Lichtenberg concentration camp. Oranienburg concentration camp remained a reserve camp for Berlin in case of any need that may arise. The SS Guard Company moved into Oranienburg Castle. For decades after 1945, the former Oranienburg concentration camp was one of the almost forgotten places of terror from the National Socialist regime. On the site of the original building destroyed in the war and cleared with the exception of the one remaining firewall, offices and garages for the East German People's Police were erected. A brass plaque and a memorial stone for the author Erich Mühsam, who was murdered in the Oranienburg concentration camp, proved inadequate to prevent the memory of the location from fading, and is eclipsed by that of Sachsenhausen concentration camp. Already on the first day, Sturmführer Stahlkopf took me to room 16, the so-called police and interrogation room. The degradation inflicted upon me there defies words. I was made to undress and I was beaten on my genitals. After 1.5 hours of torture, I left room 16, barely able to stand upright, shaking with humiliation and helpless fury. They are the words of Max Abraham, who was born in 1904 and he was a prisoner here in 1934. Sachsenhausen is around 3 kilometers from here, and this was opened in 1936. The Lichtenberg camp is, curiously enough, located very close to the place where the Einsatzgruppen trained on the Düben Heath. The Düben Heath is on the western side of the Elbe River, and Lichtenberg is on the eastern side and a bit further to the south, 15 kilometers or so further to the south. I very much regret I didn't go to Lichtenberg when I was in, there at Düben Heath and Prech. Prech is the town where the castle was, where Heydrich gave a speech to the Einsatzgruppen before they actually went into the Soviet Union. But 3,000 Einsatzgruppen actually trained there. Anyway. That apart. So you see, the people who were captured were largely, it's often said they were revenge. They were people who were active in the opposition. They could be communists, they could be social democrats. There's even cases where people from the right, even the far right party, the DNVP, ended up in places like this. There's many cases where it was done for personal reasons of jealousy. If it was the SA rule was the law. What the SA said So if it was an SA man and I don't know, he'd lost his job or something like that, then he could get revenge on his former employer. There are cases like that. I can't say there was a case here like that, but that gives you an idea. There was a total breakdown in the rule of law. There was no more rule of law. There's Germany, one of the highest cultural countries. In 1930, then it resorted to this type of thing, the complete breakdown. So it was, and we see this throughout the Nazi regime, it is moving towards the Führer to give a form of law that Hitler would himself want. So it's the will of the Führer, and that can be interpreted by people in any way that they want. The will of the Führer is the law. And that's why Hitler could order things to happen which were effectively illegal. I mean, Holocaust was illegal under German law. They didn't change the law, unlike the East German regime, which did change the law. That's why it's far more difficult to prosecute East German criminal than it is Nazi criminals. They knew that they were breaking the law. That is the thing. They knew it. And I've finished a video, or writing anyway, on Kurt Eimann, and he said at his trial he murdered thousands of people in the area of Pomerania in September to December 1939. And he said at his trial in 1965 he knew what he was doing was illegal. This thing's very important. SA on the whole were not particularly well educated people, so they could well have thought that they were following orders. Hitler, it needs to be pointed out, the reason he came to power was it was the conservative landowners who put him into power. There's another thing I've done a video on explaining how this all was possible. Hitler represented the establishment, very much represented the establishment. He was a product of the establishment. People like Hugenberg and Paul von Hindenburg, the president's son, Oscar, wanted Hitler there to hide a scandal called the Eastern Aid scandal. And it was this was a corruption scandal where money, which was designed to assist farmers above all in restructure debts in the eastern parts of Germany, from the eastern parts of the Elbe, and in particular in East Prussia, this ended up going into private hands, including, it might be added, that of, it was accused, the president was accused of that. So that was what Hitler brought to power, and that's what made this type of thing, this level of violence, perfectly possible. The Nazis claimed they were doing it for patriotic reasons. That is why this could happen. And that horrendous description of what happened, I just read to you from the Post up there. The Post incidentally wasn't English, I can't translate at that speed. So that gives you a little look around here in one of the first concentration camps. Yeah, I'll read you the unfortunately there's I can't read this one here because it's so difficult to read, but I can read you this one. It's just much clearer. In this place there was, from 1933 to 1934, one of the first fascist concentration camps in Germany. Unofficial, but still one of the first. 21st of March 1933. As far as I'm aware, nobody was ever punished. None of the criminals from here were punished. I might be wrong on that one, and I'm going to check it. But I don't think there was. Anyway, I might do some more on this concentration camp. If I do, then there'll be links to about below. But for the moment, thanks very much for watching, and all the best from me in Germany.